Hey guys, welcome back to Mihile Progression. Starting this episode, I'd like to do things a little bit differently with this series. I'm slowly getting to a point that a lot of people don't really reach or that new players are still working towards, so I want to go a little more in depth about these things. I want to talk more about what I'm actually doing and why, rather than just making a quick montage of progression. Right now I'm claiming my 5th piece of Absolab gear, the Absolab Knight Shoulder. Getting this puts me at a 5 set and gives me the following set effects. These bonuses are extremely good, and as I touched on in a previous episode, best in slot until you get arcane gear, which I'll cover more in depth when I actually get a piece. What's really important here is the 95 weapons / magic attack, the 10% IED, and the 30% boss. You don't get the boss damage until you reach 5 set, and transitioning from a CRA set is actually kind of a pain if you don't have other sources of boss damage. I actually had this problem myself, but because I'm lucky enough to have a network of people who carried me, the transition wasn't really that bad. I got my Absolab Shoulder eventually and completed my initial 5 set. There are changes that will come to this setup of armor once I get an Arcane Umbra weapon, but I'm not really concerned with that right now. I threw some cubes on this looking for 2 lines of strength, and it really didn't take too long to get 11% strength, which was good for now. I started at 12 stars, equipped it, and threw away my Magnus Shoulder. So I want to go over my goals for this series. As mentioned a little bit ago, I have big plans for this character and I'd like to outline them so that we're all on the same page. What's currently motivating me the most is leveling. I really want to get this character to level 250, and that's kind of my big long-term goal. As far as short-term goals go, I want to take out a few bosses solo. First on my list is Chaos Papulatus. This dude is notoriously annoying and I've never cleared him before. He's also known for dropping one of the first rare boss drops in the game, the Papulatus Mark. For the uninitiated, the Pap Mark is not necessarily great on its own, but instead it's good due to the flames it's capable of acquiring. For some reason in GMS, if you have boss gear that is not available in KMS, the flames on it really suck. Look at Sweetwater accessories for example. Commercy is content that is not available in KMS, so therefore the Sweetwater accessories you get from it are also not available in KMS, and the flames really suck. However, you can transpose items onto these accessories, which transfer the potential tier, the Star Force -1, and most importantly, the flame. The destination item must be a level 160 Sweetwater item, and the source item must be level 140 to 151, and an item of the same type. This works out perfectly for the Papulatus Mark being level 145, so the strategy is to flame the Papulatus Mark, an item that is available in KMS, roll a really high flame score, transpose, and then your Sweetwater monocle is suddenly incredible. This is, again, a long-term goal and one that I have very little control over as well. Once I clear Chaos Papulatus, unless I get extremely lucky, it'll probably take a few months of clearing it every week before I get the drop. Of course, once I actually get the item, rolling the flame on it is just a matter of mesos and RNG, so I again only have so much control over that as well. So for now the goal is to clear Chaos Papulatus and get the drop. We'll worry about the rest later on. In the meantime, we have a couple other things that we can focus on as well. At this point, I'm moving towards grinding at places that give droplets. I'm not quite at that point yet, but I will be soon, and droplets are an incredibly important resource. Similar to how Lotus and Damien's drops work, you need an item from the boss, plus a certain amount of other items that you get from drops in their respective areas, or in the case of Lomien, that you can also get from weekly quests. This also applies to Lucid and Will, which we'll refer to as Woocid because I know it makes people unreasonably upset. They each have separate shops and separate droplets that you require along with their own drops in order to make the coins to buy the items from their stores. At this point, the items available from Will aren't even on my radar, seeing as how I need to be level 235 to even begin gathering the droplets. The goal for now is to get enough stat to join a Lucid party, which should be around 22,000. I'm currently sitting at nearly 15,000, so the goal isn't that far off, but that's just the first step. Once I find a steady group of people to run Lucid with every week, I then have to clear it for a few months. Lucid can drop a few butterfly droplets at a time, so it's not necessarily going to take me 24 weeks of runs in order to acquire my arcane weapon. So how does this information translate into tangible goals that I can achieve? It's actually pretty simple. In no particular order, clear Chaos Papulatus, grind for Mesos to upgrade gear to reach 22,000 strength as well as collect 216 droplets, reach level 235 so I have maximum final damage against Lucid, finding a Lucid party that I can join to clear once a week and accumulate butterfly droplets to eventually acquire the Arcane Umbra Saber. Ultimately, the weapon itself is a long-term goal, but I can make progress towards it pretty consistently even before I can clear Lucid or find a group. However, I don't think finding a group is going to be a problem since my guild runs normal Lucid pretty frequently, so I'm not really worried about that. Getting most of these are going to require upgrading my items quite a bit as well. I would like to reach 17 stars on at least most of my gear, as well as getting 4 set superior Golics and reasonably good potentials. As time goes on, I plan on expanding these goals to have a tangible end point for this series, as well as an end goal for myself. As of recording this, the level cap is still 275 in GMS and will soon be raised to 300, which I assume will likely be the last time they raise the cap. Looking at the EXP chart, it's clear they really don't want people to reach 300 anytime soon, and I'm no exception to this. I can see myself getting to 250, clearing some really hard bosses, and maybe if I can muster up the motivation, reaching 275 and taking on Black Mage, but all that's in the future. For now, we focus on what's immediately ahead of us, bosses. Bosses such as Lotus, Damien, Chaos Papulatus, Akechi, Helix. These are all bosses I want to solo soon and am reasonably strong enough to within a realistic time frame. If we take a look at the list of bosses I have soloed, I've managed to make some pretty decent progress, but it's not good enough for me to be satisfied with just this list. I believe Mihile, as well as really any class in the game, is capable of a lot more than people sometimes give them credit for, and I want to help prove that. I'm certainly not the first one to do this. There are plenty of Mihiles ahead of me who have cleared everything I've mentioned in this episode, including Black Mage, but this series isn't about them. It's about what I'm able to accomplish, and I want to accomplish a lot. So, in the interest of making this video consist of more than just me talking for 7 minutes straight, let's get to some progression. During this time frame, I really wasn't doing a whole lot more than logging in, doing dailies, and maybe grinding, so I was saving up a good bit of Mesos over time. I reached level 223 at Hidden Iliard Field, which is one of my favorite training maps, and after using another totem the next day, decided it was time to try and upgrade my emblem. I spent just a bit of Mesos to try and get a tier up because it was still at Epic and it was a pain in the ass to try and get 2 lines of attack at Epic. After just a few black cubes, I was able to tier up to Unique, but since I only had 12 to work with, I ran out before I was able to get what I was looking for. I headed back to get some more cubes, this time deciding that red was sufficient since I wasn't really expecting to tier up to Legendary, and bought 30 of them. I was looking for 2-line attack, which is much more realistic to get at Unique tier. Even after using 30, I didn't get what I was looking for, and since I still had nearly 2 billion Mesos to use, I went back and bought 54 more red cubes. This ended up being a little bit overkill since I eventually rolled 15% attack, making my emblem a lot better than it previously was. I still had quite a few cubes left over, so I took the opportunity to attempt to tier up my Absolab shoes. It wasn't exactly what I was hoping for, but I rolled 11% strength on them and decided to settle. But I still had cubes left over. That's when I noticed my Lydium heart was in pretty pathetic condition, only granting me 2% strength. This was as good a target as any for the remainder of my cubes, so I went to work. I wasn't necessarily looking for any specific potential here, I just really wanted it to tier up, and I was just lucky enough that it reached Unique on my last red cube. However, since the potential on it now sucked, I went to get some Master Craftsman's cubes from the Genesis General Store, and after using 13 of them, I landed on 5% strength and was satisfied. Overall, a good cubing session, even if the gains weren't that massive. I was still feeling the urge to grind, especially considering how close I was coming to reaching Arcana, so I headed back to my favorite spot and reached level 224. I really didn't want to use it, but I was getting kind of impatient and wanted the small damage boost from the Arcana symbol, so I went ahead and used the final event level up potion to reach level 225. This really wasn't the best use of this potion, since the max level you can use it at and still receive a full level is level 239, which is quite significant. I went ahead and knocked out the Arcana pre-quests, even though towards the end they kind of got tedious due to my lack of damage. I got my symbol and that was that. I won't be able to train here for quite a while, unfortunately, but that's just kind of how progression in this game goes sometimes. I want to thank you all for watching this video and any others you may have checked out. It means a lot to me and I hope you're enjoying the series, even if it's a little slow to release. So thank you again, and I'll see you in the next part.